So there's no good and bad, no right and wrong in the traditional sense of the word. Normal from the point of view of your client is the mirror image they see in the mirror each morning. This is an important point to note when you consider why you are mirroring someone to ease a sale. People like people who are similar to themselves, who are normal. All salespeople are taught this, and they're advised to slightly copy their target. If he scratches his nose, you might do the same a few moments later, and so on. The mirror image creates a sensation of comfort, familiarity, and connectedness. When done correctly, you shouldn't notice it at all. Of course, the flip side of that has to be, when it's done badly, it's disastrous. When you fall out of time with the other person's rhythm, you move from being perceived as being normal because you communicate in the same way as them to being strange or abnormal because you are different. We are programmed to dislike difference and to feel comfortable with similarity. A few years ago, I worked on a large commercial radio station that covered the entire northeast of England. I was the breakfast show presenter, and I had a co-host called Kelly. The show ran for 18 months and did extremely well. We even won the most coveted award in UK radio, a Gold Sony Award, similar in stature to the movie industry's Academy Awards. The success of the show was partly down to the on-air chemistry between Kelly and myself. Many people even questioned whether there was something more to the relationship. This is always a clear sign that you've got the rapport and the role definitions perfectly balanced. Of course, there wasn't anything beyond our great on-air relationship. However, off the air, the story was quite different. We would bicker and disagree furiously with each other, almost continuously. We played our roles on air perfectly, but just as when the actor rubs off the grease paint and steps out of his character, once the mic live went out and we left the studio, the contrast between our characters was immense. I believe a lot of our disagreement came purely from a difference in communication styles. Kelly is a bag of energy. Her brain runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour. She talks at a similar pace. This state of mind is categorized as being in an alpha brain state. If you think of a busy playground with enthusiastic kids running in all directions, this is an alpha brain state. Conversely, I would say I'm more of a deep thinker, and I tend to consider all angles and eventualities before I come up with a plan. This often means that I am in a theta brain state, completely incompatible with the opposing alpha state. In our planning meetings, Kelly would be racing off ahead on one tangent whilst I was still talking about something completely different. Sometimes she would be talking so quickly, I would get a headache from listening to her and have to leave the room. This in itself appeared, from her point of view, to be just rude and would cause yet another argument. Neither one of us was right or wrong, but rather we both had completely biased opinions of what is normal. I would continually try and slow her down to a normal rate of conversation, and she would constantly be snapping at my heels, trying to get me to make decisions quickly and communicate at a normal rate for her. Every day for 18 months, we got up at the god-awful time of 4 o'clock in the morning and made our way to the studio complex just off the A1M motorway in Gateshead in the northeast of England. We sat in a 10 by 10 studio for 4 hours and then moved into another similarly sized meeting room for another 3 hours to plan the next day's show. As gloriously successful as the show was, the daily grind of working with each other was at best difficult. Slowly, the rumor in the industry was that despite what you heard on the air, we didn't get on. As Chinese whispers tend to spread, it wasn't long before everyone said of us, "Do you know in real life they hate each other and they don't talk?" Our off-air relationship was never as bad as the rumor suggested, but it was at times a struggle to arrive at even the most basic consensus. Thankfully, you should never have to spend that much time with anyone that you're selling to. But it does give you a clear example of how breaking someone's perception of normal creates barriers and prevents agreement. I hope you have to never experience anything as painful on your journey to understanding the power of mirroring. Today, Kelly and I think the world of each other, but neither of us is in a rush to jump back into a radio studio together. The lesson I've learned for you with Kelly is the way you prefer to communicate is largely irrelevant. Pitching a deal in Spanish to a client who only speaks English is only going to get you one result, one outcome. No signature, no deal, no sale. Now, you may think that you can be very funny in Spanish, and perhaps the presentation flows like a dream in Spanish, and it doesn't work so well in English.
to keep listening to this audiobook. I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.